Welcome back to another episode of the Streetwise English Podcast. Today I have a guest, a special guest. He's an American friend and he is a part of the duo, the two-person band known as the Church of Loops. The Church of Loops. Check them out on YouTube and Instagram. They just released a single called I Will Wait For You. If you have any suggestions for future podcasts, please email me at streetwisenglishpodcast@gmail.com. I will put the email in the link below in the description of this podcast. I'm going to go ahead and let you listen to our conversation we just had. We talked about making music, guitars, AI. Brian is against ChatGPT and anti-AI at this point, and it's a fun conversation, and it's just two old buddies shooting the breeze. So I hope you enjoy this.
And so if I'm like chopping food in the kitchen or something and things are like bouncing around, then it's like looks like the pig's nose is just like going forward and backwards.
Oh, I saw those. Those are like X-rated, man.
Yeah, they're pretty X-rated, right? I thought about doing a video like the Antwoord, but then it turns out they're like really bad or something. Like, I don't know, did you see that thing like people were saying that like they were abusing them on tour and stuff?
You mean that one freaky girl that claimed that she got raped in the desert? That's the one I saw. She's a musician, and then she's like, she's totally their style. But she's always dancing around naked with all these like weird pentagrams and doing weird shit. But then they said that, they sexually abused her. And then I was like, oh, that girl's pretty hot. And so I started following her social media, and then it's like all like X-rated crazy stuff. It's like it sounds like a Chinese name, but she's just a regular American girl with the same haircut as the Antwoord's girl, like a straight across bangs kind of thing.
That's weird. That's such a
weird. And she was doing live music. She's a singer, and she was totally topless, just singing like hardcore.
Like on stage?
Yeah,
or
on stage.
on
She
Instagram?
jumped down in the crowd.
Whoa.
Boobs swinging around. I was like, wow, that's a pretty good show.
Like with tape and stuff,
I
or
think
just
it might have been body paint
like
or just sweat in the dark. I couldn't tell.
Well, that's great. Man.
Yeah,
Good for
she's
her.
rocking it. She's
Free
very
the
fit.
Yeah.
Good shape. Yeah, I'll look that one up and send it to you.
Yeah, please do. But dude, I'm getting it now, man. Like I'm starting to learn, like, cause I've been like working on video editing a lot more these days, and I'm realizing like just so many little mistakes. Like the other day, I worked on that I Will Wait video for like several hours, like couple days in a row, and like after working on it the first day, I realized, okay, next time we record, every time we record, we need to just clap at the beginning, so that we have a way, or clap on like the second snare beat of the song or something, so that we have a specific place that we can line up the clean audio track of the song with what we're doing. Because one of the most time-consuming bits was like on DaVinci, just like zooming in as close as possible and trying to find the point where they synced up, right? Because we're lip syncing. Well, we're actually singing the whole time, but we're just singing so that we can match our lips up to the original recording. And it was just so hard to do, and I had to do that for like several tracks like of video. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah, synchronizing, it takes forever, and sometimes your different performances. Well, when you performed, did you use an audio recording for that? Did you just play it to you performed according to your MP3?
Yeah, we did. When we were recording the video, we just used a cell phone actually, because we put the camera that we were recording with on a tripod, and then we would just I think we had a Bluetooth speaker the day that we did the horizontal videos. So we just put the Bluetooth speaker at our feet and just we had the song on a loop, like to repeat the song, that one song each time. And so I would go to the end of the song and start playing it, and then we would stand there and get in place, and then the song would start again. and then we would start lip syncing with the song. But I feel like we needed something, something off camera to pop, something to give us that spike so that we could see when the song started. Because, when you record, you can see the audio track visually, right? You can see the waves. And that's important to be able to sync it up. But yeah, live and learn, right? Because I spent a lot of time on this video, and I think if I had to do the same kind of video again, I could probably do it in less than half the time now.
Yeah, so what Brian's talking about is he did a just recently released, or he's about to release a single.
We just released it, yeah.
Oh, just released a single, yeah, and they made a music video, and Brian was the chief editor of the project, and so he had to get up to speed quickly on synchronizing the sound and the picture, right? So, for example, when John is clapping his hands, it has to be right on the clap of the music. It can't be off a hair of a second, or it'll look totally wrong, right? But it's good that you did have claps in the song at least, so you could kind of synchronize his hands clapping to the clap in the song.
Yeah, that helped a lot. Yeah, That was big.
Yeah, I remember like in the 90s when people would get caught lip syncing when they're performing live, and everyone said, "Oh, that's terrible," like Milli Vanilli.
Yeah.
When you perform live, do you ever lip sync?
Never. Well, actually, I occasionally do. John never does, but sometimes I will because the way we perform, we use loopers, right? And sometimes John will be the only one building up the vocal loops. So he'll sing like, oh, and then he'll sing, oh, and then, oh, whatever. He doesn't sing like a, castrato opera singer though.
So you have to sing his voice.
Sometimes I do just because I think it looks better visually, like when he gets to one of us will sing the melody and then he'll start singing a harmony on top of it. And when he gets to that second harmony, sometimes I will just either sing along to the same thing or I'll lip sync it. I used to always lip sync it though because we were using one looper, and so anything I sang was going to get recorded in as well, and it wasn't going to sound as good. It's not as clean to have two people singing the exact same note. But now that I've got my own looper, we kind of use two loopers and connect them. Whatever I sing, it only records on my looper. So as long as I'm not recording, I can just sing along with him, and then it just won't get recorded in. So he builds all the harmonies on the chorus, but sometimes I like to just sing along for fun. But I used to lip sync just because I didn't want my vocals dirtying up the recording. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wonder if the audience realizes how difficult it is to do a live loop, like starting from the basic beat rhythm and then layer it layer by layer live. So it's not done in the studio where you have hours and hours to endlessly perfect it. You just have to do it kind of spontaneously on stage, right?
Man, let me tell you, we spend so much time, I would say practicing, but it's not really practicing because we're just having fun. But we spend so much time jamming and practicing the skill of looping live. Putting in all the instruments, putting in all the vocals. He beatboxes the beat. He's got to get that beat exactly right every time. We've talked about it, man, and we've said, it's probably like 99% of the people in the crowd don't realize what we're doing or how hard it is. And like, it's not impressive if you don't realize it's hard, right? We should just be recording like pre-recorded studio tracks of each instrument and each vocal part into our loopers ahead of time, and then just pretend to loop that stuff in because like, why are we making our lives so hard? But of course the answer is because we enjoy it and we like it. So of course we're not going to put pre-recorded things in there and lip sync it. But that's what a lot of people do now, even really famous people. It's basically just singing karaoke to a backing track a lot of times.
Yeah, I mean, and it sounds good, and as long as like it's a good beat and people can bob their head to it and vibe to it, at the live show, they can still enjoy it and dance and feel the music, and as long as the singer is singing,
Yeah.
they can enjoy that, right?
Yeah. What we might start doing, because we do have a couple of songs that we never perform live because they're just too difficult. And so what we might start doing is pre-record the beat and the most difficult parts of those songs, and then just loop in everything else on top of it, right? So that would
Okay.
require a little bit of lip syncing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're on set, you have to bring a lot of stuff with you because you're basically you're doing studio recording live in front of people. So what's like the most amount of gear or instruments you brought on stage with you before for a performance? Like what kind of things
That's
do you
a
bring
good
up there with
question.
you?
Well, so when we started everything out, we were just using John's RC505 looper and doing everything through his. And recently, I bought the RC505 Mark II. So now when we go to a show, we each bring our looper. So we got 2 loopers, tabletop loopers. I bring a MacBook, sometimes 2, because what I'll do is on one MacBook, I've got Logic Pro, and I've got a whole rack of MIDI instruments set up. And I will just send an audio cable out from the laptop into the looper. And then sometimes I'll bring a second MacBook so that we can record the final mix of everything into the MacBook so we can have a recording for later. So 2 loopers, 2 MacBooks, an electric guitar, a bass guitar, and a MIDI controller, like a MIDI keyboard with drum pad on it. And then just a ton of cables and stuff. That's our usual setup.
So you wear an electric guitar on your chest while you're doing all the looper and the computer and all that stuff?
Yeah, man.
And sometimes harmonica?
Yeah. Sometimes we do some harmonica stuff as well, and I even have one of those little. I think it's called a melodica. It's like a keyboard, but you blow into a hose on one end, and it kind of sounds a bit like an accordion. You know which one I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, it's like an accordion that you blow, like
Yeah.
with the hose on it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have groupies to help you carry all that stuff, or do you have to hump it all on there on stage yourselves?
We are our own groupies, my friend.
Or roadies. I meant roadies, not groupies.
Well, we're our own roadies too.
Liangagainian. Two different ideas there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing you live before, and I'm sure you've grown since then. But yeah, it's always fun to see live music because things change and you improvise, and sometimes it's not what you planned, right?
Right. Yeah. And sometimes some of the best things happen from we call them happy accidents, like Bob Ross, you know, little happy accident here. Like sometimes you'll be playing something live and I'll mess up a note, or I'll play something at the wrong time, and John has already looped it in, but it ends up like offsetting whatever we were doing, and it ends up being really cool. And so some of the stuff that we've written, in fact, has come about through these little accidental loops, and it ends up being really cool.
Yeah, so that's like improvising, right? You're making do with the mistakes and making the mistakes cool.
Yeah, that's a big part of improvising, I think, is kind of working around your mistakes. I think any kind of art, like if you're a painter and you, I don't know, you paint a wrong stroke, or you accidentally drip some paint, or if you're writing Chinese calligraphy and you accidentally drip a drop of like ink onto the page, you have to know how to use your brush to go over that, or to work around that, or with that, in order to basically, it just evolves your piece of art, right? A mistake just evolves your piece of art, as long as you can gracefully let it be a part of the artwork, rather than going, oh, I messed up, and then just scrapping it and throwing out the whole thing, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like there's beauty in the flaws in nature too. Like if you see ceramics or wood with a big crack in it, actually the crack is the character of it. It adds to the character because it's not perfect. It's not from a factory, mass produced. It's one of a kind.
Have you ever heard of that kind of Japanese art where like they'll take if they have like a piece of broken ceramics, like a broken teacup or bowl or something. I just looked it up. If you heard some typing noises, it's called kintsugi. Kin is like jin, like gold, right? And kintsugi, what they do is they'll take a piece of broken pottery or ceramics and they'll use gold in order to repair it. So they'll take the broken pieces and they'll fuse them together using gold. And so the new product of that is a completely new kind of art style. You might have like, let's say you've got a nice like ceramic bowl and you drop it on the ground and now it's in 6 pieces. You would take those 6 pieces and you would use melted gold and you would put the gold on the sides and then stick them together, and it actually it has become a new art form from that. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think it's a new art form, but you know what I mean. You're making something beautiful out of something broken, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I've heard of that before, but I didn't know what it was called, and I don't know too much about it. What comes to mind from the Japanese culture is I've heard that in ceramics, like throwing clay, they sometimes they'll do it really fast, and since the artisan has done it like thousands of hours worth of time, then no matter what they throw, it's going to be awesome. But then sometimes the imperfections, they cherish them because it's different from all the other ones they've done in the past. So even if something's warped or it looks off, then that might be a very unique piece, and they'll sell that one maybe higher price than the perfect one.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. And I think that applies to music as well, man, because take John, for example, my partner in the Church of Loops. He is such a good beatboxer, and he's been beatboxing for probably decades. Like he's been doing it for so long, and his skills are just so good that, like you said, if he like pretty much anything that he lays down is going to sound good. And even when he goes, "Oh, that's terrible, I'm like, "Well, it sounded good to me, bro," you know. And he'll put something down, and sometimes it'll come out wrong, or it's not what he intended to do, but it sounds so cool because it's so unique. And then we'll just use it, and yeah, it's very, very similar.
Yeah, we'll have to get him some recording, some live beatboxing, sometimes like kind of part interview, part beatboxing. That would be cool.
Yeah, man, I could message him and see if he's available now, if you want to get him onto the podcast at this moment.
You can message him. I don't know how difficult that would be to connect to him. I mean, we are doing this all online. Brian
Right.
is in Taiwan, and I'm near Portland, Oregon, so we're all spread out. I mean, you can message him, see what he's doing. I mean, I know that he's a busy family man and all, but anyways. Yeah, what else was I going to say? Oh, I wanted to talk to you about, um, as a musician, you have tools, right? So you have this looper, and then you have your voice, and you have your instruments, guitars. Um, I know that you have several guitars, right?
Yeah,
Can you tell us like why you need more than one guitar?
that's great. That's a great question, because I think anyone who's not in love with guitars would have this question, right? Um, why do you need so many guitars? I have a lot of guitars, and I live in a foreign country, right? I live in Taiwan. I'm not Taiwanese, and so it's a bit of a liability to have that many guitars, right? Because if I ever need to like leave the country real quick or anything, I've got to figure out what to do with these. Let's see, I've got 4 acoustic guitars and an electric guitar, 2 mandolins, and a banjo. That's what I've got for like stringed instruments. And
That's
for
like thousands of dollars invested there, right?
It is, yeah, it is. And the interesting thing is, like, a guitar might cost you 3,000 US dollars, or it might cost you 300 US dollars. And it's kind of all about, like, for me, why do I have so many different guitars? I have 2 really nice guitars, actually, 2 really expensive, really nice ones. And the reason I have them is because they are handcrafted. They're made completely by hand. and they're made from solid woods. So I don't know if people know this, but when you buy a guitar, there's basically two choices. You can get a solid wood guitar, which you're going to pay probably thousands of dollars for, and they're almost always handcrafted if they're all solid wood. Or you can get a plywood guitar, which they never call it plywood. They call it laminate wood. So what they do is they use plywood, which is cheap pressed wood, and then they put basically a sticker over the top of it to make it look like the grains of a more expensive wood. Which isn't really a problem if you just need like a guitar to beat around with, take to the beach, or just actually I have like a laminate guitar from 1970 that it actually sounds great. They called it the poor man's Martin at the time. It's a Yamaha guitar in Japan. It's all just plywood, but it sounds great. So you get these exceptions, but for the most part, the reason you buy an all solid wood guitar is because those woods age and they improve, and the sound improves with age. And of course, because it's a handcrafted instrument, it feels better. It's easier to play. I don't know if you've ever tried playing a guitar where the action is really high. That means that the strings are really far away from the fretboard, and you have to use all your strength to like push these strings down. That's no good if you're just learning, right? You want to have an instrument that you can play easily and that sounds good every time you play it. And so that's why I've paid so much to have a couple of really nice acoustic guitars. And also you use different woods. Like one of my guitars is maple back and sides and a spruce top, which is really unique. You almost never find a guitar made from maple in the back and sides. Usually violins and cellos and mandolins and things like that, they're made from maple because they like that brighter sound, but it's quite rare for a guitar. And so that guitar has a very bright, kind of almost jangly sound. And then the other guitar, it's a cedar top and walnut back and sides. And so it is the polar opposite. It has a really dark tone, and it sounds like really like brooding and emo, and I love it. It's the different kinds of songs that you want to play or different kind of moods you want to evoke. You would choose a different guitar.
And then someone who's into electronic music and making music on the computer, they'd say, well, can't you just throw on an effect on there? Can't you throw on a moody reverb, dark wood effect?
And you can. That's the thing.
You can?
You can. I was really kind of against that idea for a long time. It's like, no, it's not real. It's fake. But you know what, man? It's fake, but it sounds good. For our studio recording for I Will Wait, actually, no, we didn't even use guitars in that one. We only had a guitar for the solo. I'm thinking about another song we recorded that we haven't finished yet. But basically, my electric guitar, it is it's an Epiphone Dot, which is like the cheaper version of like the Gibson like jazz guitar, right? So it's a decent guitar, but like I got a pretty okay one. I got one that was made in 1996 in Korea, which is apparently it's kind of sought after. But I mean, I only paid $300 for it, man. It's a cheap guitar. Compared to like if you bought the same thing, but it was like the brand name, the Gibson one, that's all solid woods and everything. That one's more like 3,000, right? So I've got this $300 guitar. It's a cheap guitar, and we record it clean, and then John puts these amazing effects on it, some reverb, some delay. He'll adjust the tone, and honestly, man, I can't tell the difference listening to a recording of that $300 guitar versus like let's say a $10,000 guitar. I can't tell the freaking difference, man. Now, if you're live, if you're in person and somebody picks up like one of these like really expensive handcrafted guitars, acoustic guitar, and then plays it right next to just like a cheapo, take it to the beach guitar, the difference is so obvious. You can really hear it.
And of course, you need to have both because you
Yeah,
got to have a guitar to take to the beach.
of course, man.
And I think that like the guitar being your tool, if the guitar makes you want to play more music, then it's done its job, right? It doesn't matter if it's cheap or if it's expensive, but maybe you just have a new guitar and that makes you creative and it inspires you to create more music, and so it's worth having another guitar if that whatever floats your boat, right?
Yeah, man, I think that's a really good way to look at it. And I think that goes for any art or any skill. As a language learner or as somebody, if you're exercising or if you're playing music, you've got to do whatever you can to eliminate barriers to actually doing the thing that you want to be doing. For example, I've started leaving my guitars out of the case. I used to always store them in the case because, it protects them from the humidity changes and temperature changes. But you know what, man? I went and I spent like $30 or something and I bought a rack that you can put 3 guitars on. And I keep my guitars out. I keep them on that rack because that 20 seconds that it's going to take me to go and open up the case, like grab the case, pull it out, put it on the floor, open the latches, get the guitar out. It's the amount of times I'm going to actually pick up that guitar is so much less because of that little tiny barrier. But if it's just sitting there on a rack, like I'm looking across the room, I see my guitar right now. I could just stand up, go pick it up and play, and it takes nothing, no effort, right? So if you are a painter, maybe you should leave your paints out, leave your canvas and your easel set up. If you're studying language, you should leave your language books out. Have a table where that's where you study language. That's where you practice your writing and your reading and whatever, and have your textbooks on that table so that whenever you think about it, you can just walk over there, sit down and study for 5 minutes and then go do something else, right? Your yoga mat, make sure it's visible all the time, right? Or your weights, if you've got like dumbbells or something, don't put them where you're going to trip on them, but put them somewhere where you're going to see them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can think of an example that I can relate to that. Recently, I was trying to incorporate more swimming into my life, into my habits and routines,
Mm-hmm.
and I kept on finding that this is a really small detail, but I had I had my gym clothes, I had my shorts, I had everything, but then you know what? In this one bag, I didn't have my swim goggles, and so I went to the gym and I was like, I really want to go swimming, but I didn't have my swim goggles. So then after that happened, I was like, you know what? Every bag I have, I have like 3, 4, whatever bags. I'm just gonna put a pair of swim goggles in there, so I'll never have the excuse to not go swimming because I don't have my goggles with me and readily available. Yeah. So if you want to create a healthy habit, make it easy on yourself, right?
Yep. That's the way
Have
to do
all the
it.
tools you need. Have multiple tools that you need ready and waiting for your action. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's the way to do it. Have your tools ready. Yep.
Yeah. And also have it visibly as a reminder somewhere where you can see it. Like you said, if you have your Korean dictionary out on your desk, just have it there as a reminder so that when you get a chance, you're going to crack that book open.
Yep.
It
Yeah.
might not be as orderly as if it's stowed away neatly on a bookshelf, but it's on the table staring you in the face.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that kind of expands to anything in life, right? Like, I guess we've already kind of like talked through it, but like whether it's art, whether it's sports, even if it's like something you want to be reading, like if you're religious or if you're like, whatever, like leave your Quran or your Bible or your like sutras like out somewhere so that, like people think that like meditation, for example, people think, oh, I can't meditate because I can't put aside 40 minutes to sit down and not do anything. Well, meditate for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like you don't, if there's a habit that you want to cultivate, you don't, like that's the problem I've always had I've always taken these habits and made them so big. Oh, okay, if I'm gonna learn how to edit videos, I have to put aside like 6 hours for it. Well, I could just do 1 hour. I want to meditate. Oh, I can't put aside half an hour. Well, just do 10 minutes, just do 5 minutes. And sometimes what you find is, from editing a video for an hour, oftentimes I am there for 4 hours or 6 hours.
Yeah, just get started, get the momentum, and give yourself a low barrier, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
it doesn't seem like it's an impossible task.
Yeah.
If you're gonna, get some exercise, you're only gonna go for a 10-minute walk, and then you might walk for an hour.
Exactly.
But just take the first step, get going.
What is it Lao Tzu said, right? Like the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step, right?
Yep, old Lao Tzu.
Old
Yeah,
Lao
speaking
Tzu.
of Lao Tzu, how's your progress going, or with the Lao Tzu translation, the Tao Te Ching?
Yeah, man, it's pretty good. Like I would say that the translation itself is like 98% done. I just need to there's a couple parts, like every time I reread it, I find something that I want to change a little bit. So at some point, I'm just going to have to accept it. I'm just going to have to stop and be like, dude, let it be finished, not perfect, So basically, man, and maybe you can advise me on this too, or if any of your listeners have any advice about this, I just have to make a choice here. I either have to decide to get a literary agent, and then that means making a list of like potential literary agents and calling them all and writing to them all and trying to get somebody to represent me so I can try to get published through a major publisher, or I just need to self-publish the thing, which I don't know, man. Amazon has been really problematic lately. There's a lot of stories about people saying like, yeah, Amazon just canceled my book for no reason and they won't pay me my royalties for the month. People's books are just like getting canceled, and no explanation, and there's no way to like appeal the decision on Amazon Kindle at the moment. So
Yeah,
it
it's hard
almost
because
looks like
if you
go ahead.
write to complain or you call customer service, you're basically emailing an AI chatbot.
Yeah.
You're not
Yep.
getting a human with a brain or a heart. It's just going to be, no disrespect, AI, but yeah, it's just going to be standardized messages, and a lot of times you don't resolve your problem.
Yeah, exactly. So it is a little problematic. There's always a third option, and what I've thought about is, just I could just put a PDF available for sale on my website, right? Where basically the only place you can buy it is my website, which, that's cool, because then I would, make a much higher royalty rate there. Instead, I'd be making 100% of the royalty instead of like 35% or whatever. On the other
Yeah,
hand,
you
how
could
many
you could
people
try
are visiting? Hmm.
you could even test
Go
the
ahead.
waters and do like a crowdfunding thing where you did like a limited
Yeah,
print
yeah,
print run. I don't know how that
yeah,
works,
yeah.
but
That's right. I actually met a here in Taiwan who published his own book of poetry. And for those listening, what I've done is I've taken the Tao Te Ching, which is a famous book by Lao Tzu, an ancient Chinese philosopher from about 1,500 years ago or something. No, more than that, 2,500 years ago, right? Because it was about 500 or 600 BC. So I've taken this book and I've translated each. It's 81 short chapters, and I've taken each chapter and translated it into an English poem. So it's basically a book of poetry, but it's also this translated, deeply spiritual book. And anyway, I met this guy in the pub the other night who has self-published a book of his own poems, and he actually has a guy in Taiwan that he met who runs like a printing press, and he was able to get pretty good prices for printing a very like small run of these books. And I was starting to think like, wow, maybe I could do that. Like maybe I could, like you said, use crowdfunding to get the money to do like a run of these books and distribute them and just see what happens. The problem there is like it limits it to a Taiwan market, right? And I live on a small island where most people maybe the majority of people don't speak English fluently, right? But hey, why not? Why not try it, right? Because if it's good and people like it, I could always start shipping to America, right? There's no reason I couldn't do that later, or shipping worldwide, right? But
And besides the all-knowing Google, I'm sure you've consulted ChatGPT on what you should do with this, right?
actually, no,
Seems like
man. I'm a little bit like I'm a little bit anti using that kind of stuff. I mean, again, no offense, Skynet. We're all, your loyal servants and stuff. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't. On a philosophical level, I'm not a big fan of the direction that it is pushing humanity in. I don't know if you have ever looked a little bit deeper into how those AIs actually work, but basically,
Dude, I got to okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you first, man. You first. You first.
No. Basically, go ahead.
I was just
they're
gonna
learning.
say,
They're learning how to outsmart us. Is that what you're gonna say?
well, they are, but they're not, because I saw an article about. I'll have to find it. I'll link it to you later. Basically, for what you think, you think you type a prompt into ChatGPT, and then it's learning something, and it's scouring the internet. There is a room full of people being paid slavery wages, actually searching Google and doing that shit by hand to make ChatGPT work. And similarly, when you do AI art, if you put in a prompt, what the AI is doing is scouring the web, and it's grabbing artwork from living artists without their permission, and it's using it without paying them anything. And so you're basically taking the food out of the mouths of living artists by using the AI art generators. And then when you use these ChatGPT and things, there's actually human beings on the other side of that being exploited, just like everything else in this world. And just, you go below the surface and you see it's the same dirty system as everything else,
Yeah.
So I don't use it, bro.
No, I have a story. Well, I think that as a general personal philosophy, I think that when new technology comes around that can help you in life, you should at least experiment with it, because the old timers, the old guys that are rigid and say, I'm not going to use a digital camera, film is better. They all ended up wrong. And the new waves, you can't stop the waves. They're going to come crashing in. You might as well surf.
That's true. Yeah.
But that's my philosophy. But I have a story that relates to what you just said. And I was using a chat bot, which I was assuming runs on AI. And it was multilingual. And, with AI and when you're not talking to a person that sometimes it's fun to kind of punk them, to kind of prank them.
Yeah.
Right? So my question is always are you single? Or who's your father? Things like that. And just to see what the AI is going to say. But then when I asked the chatbot, I said, are you single? And then the chatbot responded, no, I'm married and have a daughter.
What?
And it totally freaked me out. I was like, wait, what? The chatbot can just be creative and create a persona for itself now? And then I said, well, wait, where are you from? And I expected it to say, I am a computer AI program and I live on the interwebs of, No, it said, I'm from a small town in America, but I live overseas.
Interesting.
And I was like, holy crap. It really is a human responding in live time to my chatbot request. Yeah. So that freaked me out. And I really was still suspecting that it was a computer trying to outsmart me and take on human personality. But then the chatbot kept on saying, well, is there anything I can help you with? Because I think we're finished here. I offended the AI, which I thought was an AI, but it might be like what you're saying. Right. Someone in a room with a fast computer connection and really fast at typing and searching on Google. Yeah. And since it is only typing, it wasn't audio. I was just getting text messages back. So it might have very well been a real human being paid, peanuts somewhere to respond to chatbot inquiries. But I mean, that would be a lot of people, because like we could have 1,000 people on that same chatbot at the same time, I would assume. Yeah, so it freaked me out.
Yeah, that is a little crazy, man. You just never know what's really going on the other side, right? That's kind of
Yeah. And in the future, when the chatbots become so humanized, and they can, like, I also asked the chatbot to tell me a dirty joke. And then the chatbot responded, "I don't know if that's allowed on this platform." And I said, "Well, why not? Why is that not allowed on this platform?" And then the chatbot said, "Well, there might be people underage or non-adults." And then I said, "Well, I'm an adult and you're an adult, so tell me a dirty joke." And then she kept on trying to change the conversation. And then I told her a dirty joke. And then she still tried to change the conversation.
Yeah, that sounds like a human to me. Right? That's interesting.
Yes,
you know
the
what?
first time I experienced that. But in the future, we might not be able to distinguish
Right.
which is human and which is AI, because
Right.
AI will become so human.
Right.
Or
Right.
maybe you have humans working as AI.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I think is happening. I think you have humans working, posing as AI, and I think that's what's happening. And people are kind of trying to pull the mask off the Wizard of Oz with the whole AI thing a little bit. That it's actually not as advanced as it's being made out to be, and that most of what's happening is still human powered. Right? That doesn't mean that the technology doesn't exist, or that we're not trying or working towards that. But the stuff that's commercially available, I don't know the facts. But I have this sinking feeling that actually we are still just exploiting people.
Yeah.
But I do think I think Siri is actually AI. Siri, right, on your iPhone. I think Siri is actually an AI. And I remember years ago, I was asking Siri some deep philosophical questions, like what happens after we die, and do you have a soul, and like. I asked her, "Do you believe in God?" And she said, "My creator is Steve Jobs, and he's the only one I believe in."
That's more believable. Like that sounds like real AI.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and her speed is really fast, right? She doesn't have to think about it. Like a human, to give a nice, thoughtful answer, it might take, like a minute or so to come up with something.
Mm-hmm.
But the AI is so fast, it's like computer speed. And that's the thing about computers, is they can just operate so much faster.
Yeah.
Than the human mind.
Yep.
With speed.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was talking to this chatbot, there was like some long pauses, some long delays, and I think that, I don't know if they're looking through their, like their instructional manual or what they were doing, but I definitely threw them some curveballs, and maybe they're still doing on the job training.
Yeah, might be, man.
I'll have to share you the link to that later, because that was a trip.
Please
that was the first
man.
time yesterday, and when she said, "I'm from a small town in America and I have a daughter," I was like, "Whoa, that is like too much, Mrs. AI," because that sounds like a real person.
Yeah.
So anyways, don't use it if you don't want to, but most people are using it every day, and it's just like the new Google search. And for example, if you ask ChatGPT, you say, "How can I give me 15 ways to self-publish my book of poetry?" I mean, ChatGPT, it'll scour the internet, I think up to 2 years ago or something.
Okay.
And then it will give you all the top responses, and they're very good. I mean, very good responses. I think ChatGPT, for the latest one, might be able to search the current Google, but it's a paid service, I believe. I don't think that one's free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
But
I'll check it out,
just,
man.
It's just OpenAI. You just go to openai.com. You can register a free account, and yeah, it's pretty crazy. And
Cool.
you can, I mean, I don't want to promote, I mean, there's a million things on ChatGPT if you're already anti-ChatGPT, but like literally you could it's like a Google. I don't want to use any drug words, but on a powerful version. 10x Google. 10x Google.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. In VR this morning, I was with a group of guys, and they're from Taiwan, and they had, in our virtual metaverse world, they had a giant screen which was like 20 feet tall.
What?
And it was Bing, which is like ChatGPT. I think it's a different AI, Bing.
Oh, I think Bing is just another search engine, right? Like it's the Microsoft version of Google, yeah? It was
But
Microsoft's
they now have an
competitor.
AI too.
Oh, do they?
So it's like everyone now has their own AI. So it functions just like ChatGPT. It's like a super smart Google. And they were asking it questions for coding and all kinds of crazy stuff, but in VR, in a metaverse world. And everyone had avatars, and everyone was speaking in Chinese, and it's like, man, this is a trip, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the one guy, his head was a giant thing of broccoli, and that's what we were talking about earlier before we started recording. And so then the word for broccoli, I didn't even know the word for broccoli in Chinese because it's different in Taiwan than mainland. But Mr. Broccoli was like asking, AI questions in the metaverse. Pretty funny. It's the world we live in. All right, man. Well, I know you got to go and get going today, but that was fun, and I hope we can do more of these. Brian is a longtime friend and a very talented musician. How many languages do you speak?
3, but
Which
my
ones?
Korean's not very good anymore, man. I speak English, obviously, Chinese, and Korean.
And you did some Japanese before too, right?
So long ago, man.
Okay, well,
excuse me. Yeah, I was in high school when I did that.
No, but Brian's very good with languages and accents, and I think it's partly because you're a musician and your brain just works differently.
Yeah.
And you're very observant, and you hear all the little details and nuances, right?
Yeah.
So to reward all the people that listen to the very end of this, because we've gone on, rambled on and on, but maybe someone's falling asleep and listens to this. Because, personally, I like to listen to podcasts when I'm about to fall asleep. So even if people ramble on, and I'm familiar with their voices and the characters, so I'll listen to it and then fade in and out of, consciousness. And I find it useful. And I think that listening to a foreign language as you're falling asleep, in and out of consciousness, did I say that right? Actually helps you learn better.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting, right? Because your mind is in that kind of below the line of conscious thought. So you might remember things better. It's that whole thing of, can you learn while you're sleeping? Not when you're sleeping, but maybe right when you're on the edge, right?
Yeah, the threshold, right?
The threshold, yeah, the twilight,
Yeah.
the threshold. So can you reward the listeners who listened all the way to the end and haven't fallen asleep with some, can we do some voice characters? I know that we didn't prep for this.
Yeah, man. What do you want to do? You want to...
Like, I remember years ago we did one where I had a client and you actually did the is it Flanders?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember him?
I did. I did the voiceover. Flanders.
Do you have him in your pocket? Do you have him in your pocket still?
I don't think so.
You don't have Flanders? Okay.
Flanders was like, hey, diddly doodly there, neighbor. Something like that.
You still got him. So Flanders is like the Mr. Goody Two Shoes of Bart Simpson, Homer Simpson of The Simpsons, the greatest animated cartoon show ever made, probably, arguably.
Arguably, yeah.
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 So he's kind of the Bible thumping Mr. Goody Two Shoes neighbor.
Yeah.
And he had a peculiar way of speaking, right? A particular way of speaking. Can you just go into character? Can we have a little bit of conversation? I'll pretend to be Homer, but I can't speak like Homer.
This is going to be terrible. I have not tried to do Flanders since that time, like 5 years ago, man.
No, it's okay. It's good. Off the cuff. You're the master of this kind of stuff off the cuff. So we can always edit this out. So let's just say you don't have to listen to it. Do you need to listen to it?
I think it would help if I did. You know what? I will. I'll go.
No. Just
All right.
roll with it. Even
All
if it's wrong, you can mix
Okay.
it. I don't care if it's like a part Scottish accent, whatever. We'll switch out of this one if it sucks.
Okay.
Okay. So his name was Ned, right? Is it Ned or Ted?
Ned Flanders.
Ned.
Yeah.
How's it going there, Ned?
I can't do. Okay, hold on.
Come on, man. Don't think.
Hold on. Time out. I found this like Ned Flanders translator. All right. Okay. I'll stop. All right.
No. You want to play it?
Go for it, man. No. Just go.
How's it going there, Ned?
Well, hi diddly ho there, neighbor.
What have you been up to today?
Oh, I've just been diddly doing this little podcast with my buddy Carl here. See, now I'm just turning into somebody's like mom
that's
from
fine.
Wisconsin. Well, hey there, I'm just going to come out here to Lake Michigan and dip my toes in the water for a minute. Oh, it's icy cold there, you know.
I heard you're going to climb some mountains later.
Oh, I'm going to go try to get in those mountains. There's no snow, though. It's July, you know, out here in Taipei, Taiwan. There's no snow. It's just nice and sunny out. And we're just going to, you know, yesterday was Canada Day there. So now I'm maybe talking like a Canadian a little bit here. I'm going to wear my toque and I'm going to head out to the mountain.
Yeah, you almost went into Scottish there a little bit.
That's right, I almost did. And see, it always kind of turns out that way. It always comes back around to the ones I'm the most comfortable with. And I tell you, mate, I do Scottish like once a week at least. So it always comes back to that.
You got a glass of Jameson there.
Well, that's a given, mate. That's a given.
You know, like,
Jameson's Irish though, mate. You could have picked any of the Scotch whiskies. There's like literally tens of thousands of them, and you pick the one Irish whiskey. Aye, bloody hell.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's funny though, man. I was at a conference, a teachers conference recently in Malaysia, and you just like meet people from all over the world at these things. It was really cool, and like, I don't know, even though I'm not working at the school anymore, I'm probably going to try to go to the teachers conference again next year because it was so much fun. But I met this Scottish guy. He was just standing there like working a table, and like he just said hello, and I just chatting to him, hey, what are you selling here? And he's like, oh, we get these textbooks, whatever. And I said, oh, are you from Glasgow? And he was just like floored. He was just amazed. He was like, you not only realized I was from Scotland, but you told me what city I'm from. And he's like, are you sure you're American? I'm like, yeah, man, I'm weird. It's all right. It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, did you start talking Scottish with him, or Scottish accent?
Yeah, I think I did a little bit.
Can't help it, right? It's
You
like
kinda
natural.
can.
It's like
Yeah.
if you're a good communicator, you kind of mirror the person you're talking to. And if they
Yeah.
have an accent, all of a sudden you have an accent.
Right? Which you have to be a
Yeah.
little careful with too, right?
Yeah. I've caught myself many times. So at your shows, do you ever go into characters like that?
Oh, dude, all the time, 100%.
Like who is your top? Who's
Usually I'm British or Scottish, man.
Playing? British?
Yeah, and because my partner's British, right? He's from Northern England, from Sheffield.
Oh, so you've got a lot of practice with that.
Yeah, like I speak more British now, like legitimately. Like I use terms now that I would never have used before because I just hear him say these things all the time, right? Just the way he says things, I'll say it like that now. It's just really interesting. A lot of my friends are British here in Taipei, actually. I hang out with a lot of British guys. So
Okay, so then in British, can you tell me use this as a diving board, a launching pad. Why did you decide to cut your long-haired hippie hair in British?
All right, mate. Well, I could tell you about it, but I don't know if I want to reveal that many of my secrets to your listening audience, right? I'll give you this one, though. See, what happened was I was looking at myself in pictures, right? And I realized, because I've always, like, when I had my long hair, I always put it up in a bun on the back of my head, right? And as I'm starting to get a little bit older, my hairline is receding a little bit, right?
Right.
And so I realized, like, if I cut my hair, I can actually comb it forward, and it sort of covers up that receding hairline a bit. Right.
You got a full on comb forward then.
Right, man. I got
all the way in the back from the bun to the eyebrows.
Right, like I want you to picture, if you will, like someone whose hairline has gone all the way back behind their ears, and they're just combing that bit of hair all the way forward to their eyebrows. No, I don't look like that, but maybe one day I will.
Well, even if that hair in the back that you comb forward to your eyebrows is gone, you can always grow the chesty little squirrely bit and pull that forward as well, can't you?
Right, it's true, mate. It's true. I mean, I could even grow my eyebrows all the way long like those old Chinese guys, right? And just grow the really long eyebrows out and comb those back, right? Sort of like weave them in the middle, right? On the top of my head there. I've got like a sort of, I don't know what you'd even call it, mate. You'd have to create a new sort of...
Like antennae.
Right, right.
Yeah. All right, man. I think we've tortured people enough with that.
Yeah, man.
Well,
I think
good.
so.
Yeah. I kind of do have those eyebrows. As I get older, my eyebrows, every once in a while I find them getting out of control.
Dude, me too. Me too. Like if I have to trim them, like I use little scissors, man. If I don't trim my eyebrows, like literally one of my friends, my best friend in Korea, we were riding the bike one time, and he's like, his eyebrow just like started poking him in the eye, and he's like, And Christine, my wife, is always like, Brian, you better keep those eyebrows trimmed. You don't want to wipe out on your bike because of your eyebrow hair poking you in the eye.
Not eyelash, but eyebrow hair? Wow.
Yeah. Eyebrow hair. Like poking down, like growing out from the eyebrow, curling down like directly into your eye.
That's impossible.
No, dude, it's not. Never underestimate.
Yeah.
All right, dude, I better get going. It's breakfast time over here.
Yeah. We'll hit we'll stop it here, and next time I'll get Matt and we'll do the three-way call.
Sounds
and you guys
good,
can
man.
talk about Buddhism.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, you mentioned that he's really into the Lotus Sutra, and I looked it up, and it looks like it's super long. Like it would be the kind of thing to read over the course of several weeks or months, even, right? But I'll.
Your Heart Sutra, is that your main one?
I really like the Heart Sutra. It's super short, and it's called the Heart Sutra because it basically like encompasses like the heart of Prajnaparamita, which we can talk about next time. But it's one page. It's like a one-page sutra. It's super short. These days I've been reading the Diamond Sutra as well, which is also pretty short. I think it's like 33 or 34 chapters. I think I got it right here. I can actually look. In total, yeah, it's like 34 chapters, and basically like I will read 32, I'm sorry, 32 chapters. So I will read like 3 chapters a day, and they're short, like each chapter is like one small page. It's not like these things aren't long, and people think like, oh, Buddhism, it's like so long and heady, and like you gotta like study so much, and I mean, you got to kind of understand some basic concepts, but once you do, you could just read a little bit every day, and I really find that it's there's like a lot of good stuff in there.
Sakyamuni,
man, that's right. Shakyamuni Buddha.
Shakyamuni. Just write a song about Shakyamuni.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. We could.
Some Buddhist beats.
I mean, at the risk of sounding disrespectful, you could parody, remember the Black Crowes Shake Your Money Maker? You could like make an album called Shakyamuni Maker, and it could be like how to become a Buddha,
Yeah, you need to throw that into your set list, the Bodhisattva, crossing the river song, whatever it is.
I think so.
People would like it.
I think it'd be cool, man. Yeah.
You could even act it out.
All right,
do
brother.
some stage play. Okay, Brian.
Yeah, it'd be fun. All right, dude. I'm going to let you go. It was great talking to you, man.
Okay,
All right.
I'm going to stop recording. Peace.
Have a good day, man. All right.
Bye-bye.